Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. We're gonna have some fighting words. This video, I want to just go over the fight that happened over the weekend with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Logan Paul. The only reason why I'm addressing this fight is because, if you recall, I made a video about the fight prior, just saying, I don't necessarily think it's something that I will invest in, but I did watch it. I did not pay for it, but I watched it. And I've been dealing with people's criticism all day on Instagram. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just address this and make a video, and then I'll just do a one and done. And after this video, it's history to me. So one of the main criticism about the fight is that Floyd let Logan Paul live. Let's just go over the facts. The facts are, we're dealing with a 44-year-old man who's been fighting for 26 years professionally. A 44-year-old man who's been fighting for 26 years professionally, who's had multiple hand surgeries on both of his hands. He's broken this hand multiple times and this hand multiple times. We're talking about a man whose body has been beaten up in every way, shape, and form. That's what we're talking about. So, but also we're just talking about a 44-year-old man. You slow down over the years. But when you add that on top of the wear and tear, what do you expect? Now, like I said, the main criticism was that Logan Paul survived until the 8th round. Well, Logan Paul was over 200 pounds. He weighed in at 189. But we all know, once you do a weigh-in, you rehydrate. And you have a meal that day. So he rehydrated. I'm assuming he had breakfast as well. So he's well over 200 pounds when they had their contest. One, it's an exhibition. It's not a fight. It's an exhibition. If it were a fight, it would have been 12 rounds, or at least 10. It's 8 rounds. It's an exhibition. Two, this was just something like, honestly, think of more like WWE. That's what you need to be thinking about. Don't think about like an actual prize fight. It's a prize fight because they are fighting and are making money, but don't think about this as a real fight. This is not a real fight. At best, this is like some fantasy fight. At best, okay? With more or less just two characters in there. I can't look at them as boxers. They weren't doing a whole lot of that. Let me just give Logan his credit, because I think I want to credit him. Him and his brother Jake have been boxing for 3 years, and you can see the progression in their skills. Do I think they have a ton of skills? Absolutely not. Do I think they're clumsy? Very clumsy, and the fact that they're bigger guys makes them even more clumsy. Do I think that they throw punches well or like very sharp? No, they don't. Like, again, that they're very clumsy. You can tell the difference between somebody who just started the sport as opposed to someone who starts the sport at a young age, which is why the best boxers start at a young age. You don't see too many, outside of Deontay Wilder, you don't see too many people who say, at like 20 years old, I'm going to start fighting. You don't see anybody like that. These guys are well in their 20s and say, we're gonna start boxing. So their progression is going to be slow. It's going to seem a little fast because they're in their 20s, which means they have time to progress, which means they have time to learn. However, whatever they learn, if they're going up against a professional, someone who's been doing this since his teens, well, it's always going to be a slower process. So you have to keep that in mind. But I will credit Logan Paul. He was smart. He knew his best choice or option really was to rush Floyd Mayweather in the beginning of the fight, and that's exactly what he did. He used his size. He used his unpredictability, and he used them very well. Unfortunately for him, he's dealing with a professional who's been in tough spots and tough situations in the ring. Floyd blocked all of that, literally. Shelled up, nothing touched him. Everything was forearm shots, maybe a shoulder shot, Nothing hit his head. Nothing even hit the body. He's shelled in tight. So all that went nowhere. But I admire the fact that he realized what he needed to do. Clearly, him and his team organized a game plan. Just go out there and bum rush him. You're bigger than him. Just go run at him and see what happens. Maybe you can knock him over. Maybe you can like startle him in some way, shape, or form. I mean, he did knock him around the ring, but like I said, nothing got through his defenses. Logan, he did what he was supposed to do. Was it the best game plan in the world? Well, for someone of his skill level, it was actually the best game plan in the world. He utilized his size. He utilized his unpredictability, because again, it's not like Floyd can see what he's going to do ahead of time. You know, it's not like he's your classic boxer where he's going to come out and maybe throw jab, jab, right hand or something like that. No, he's not going to do that. He's not even skilled enough to do that. He's not going to do that. He's just going to use his size and his strength, and that's exactly what he did. And he went berserk for, a good part of the first round. He went berserk. Like I said, it was dramatic. He knocked Floyd all around the ring. Didn't do anything. It really didn't do anything. However, I would say he won the round by default. You know, by going berserk, he won the round by default. Floyd just composed himself, weathered the storm, and that was that. Floyd didn't really get going until maybe round 3. Logan hit him with a pretty good shot. He hit him with a pretty good shot, and I can tell, like, you could just see it visibly in Floyd where he got annoyed. Like, you know, he just, like, maybe he was thinking to himself, this is an exhibition. I've already got the money in the bank. It really doesn't really matter that much. We can just kind of muck around in here. I throw a few at you, you throw a few at me. Doesn't really matter. Logan did hit him hard, and Floyd went at him. He went at his body, and you could see the effects of Floyd going after Logan Paul's body. It's funny because in the press conference after the fight, Logan said, "Oh, he was attacking my body, but I do sit-ups." But when you watch the fight, he clearly like fell over, you know, just from the body shot. So he can say whatever he wants to say, but he was affected by the shots. Then we get into the holding. So again, he's in his 20s. He's 26. I would think he had better cardio. You're dealing with a man who's 44, Floyd wasn't breathing hard. And just please go back and watch the fight. At the end of the rounds, as Floyd walks over to his corner, he's not even breathing hard. He's fighting a guy who's at least 50 pounds heavier than him. He's not even breathing hard. Logan, on the other hand, again, he's new to this, so he gets a pass. But you're not getting a pass because, I'm sorry, you're in your 20s. You should not be breathing hard. You should not be gassed out. Now, that's another reason why it's an 8-round fight, but you should not be gassed out. He was tired. And Floyd it's a classic tactic of Floyd. Let them shoot their load out. Let them just punch themselves out. Almost like an Ali rope-a-dope, but with more control. You know, because with the rope-a-dope, it's more, well, one, you're leaning on a rope, and you're just kind of like letting the shots whiz by you or slightly, graze you or whatever the point may be. But Floyd will just kind of walk you down with a high guard. And everything is still just kind of hitting elbows. Nothing is really penetrating his arm or anything like that, which is good. But it also makes you tired because you're just hitting a target that's coming at you. So you're more or less, the punches are bouncing off. It served its purpose. Logan Paul got really tired, and that's when the holding started. Around round 3, that holding, it really came into play. And that's when the size mattered, everybody. That's when Logan's size mattered. Okay, you're dealing with a guy who's 5'8", who's 150 pounds, okay? You're dealing with a guy who's 200 pounds. He's like, 6'1", 6'2"? There's a difference there in size. He's holding you. We're also dealing with a guy who's like 200 pounds, who has a background in wrestling. It's not like he's some new jack when it comes to holding people. No, he knows how to hold you. He knows how to hold you and pin you. Okay? He has a history of that. That's what he did in high school. He wasn't playing football. He wasn't playing basketball. He was wrestling. So he understands a clinch. He understands how to grapple. Okay? So you have a 200-pound man holding onto a 150-pound man. If you notice the fight, Floyd is struggling to get this guy off of him. So much so that he's fouling Logan Paul with elbows. He does it a lot, but it's just, if I can just get you off of me, I can create a little space. And he's, again, attacking Logan's body. The problem is, he's so much bigger, it's density. It's density. He has punch resistance because he's a lot thicker and denser than what Floyd is used to fighting, because he's used to fighting smaller people, not big people. Yes, he's always been small for his weight class, but we're still dealing with people who fight at 155 and 147. Floyd really should have stayed at 140 in his career, but he went up because he did everything at those lower weight classes. So he went up to 154. Then he went back down to 147. Simple as that. But it's density. Just because, and I do want to address one more thing. I was told on Instagram, well, don't skills pay the bills? That's right, skills do pay the bills. That's the reason why Floyd wasn't laid out when that big 200-pound man hit him. That's why he wasn't laid out on the canvas, because skills pay the bills. He knew how to roll with the shot. Yeah, he got clipped, but he knows how to roll with it. So you take the momentum off the shot. He knows how to roll with those punches, so they're just skinning off of him. That's the reason why after the fight, Floyd didn't have a mark on his face, because skills pay the bills. That's why. But the reality is, the size of the guy was more than enough. When you have somebody holding you, also, another tactic of big guys in the ring is to lean on opponents. If you want to see a perfect example of that, look at Tyson Fury, especially when he fought Deontay Wilder. The first fight. Perfect example. Leaning on the guys. Make him hold your weight. That will gas him out, because now he has to support his weight and your weight. That's not easy to do. It just tires you and fatigues you. So that's another thing that's happening to Floyd. Simple as that. It's not that he didn't have skills. If he didn't have skills, there's no way he would have survived 8 rounds with a 200-pound man, as green as that 200-pound man is. Simple as that. So if you watch the fight, but truly watch the fight, and don't look at it for the spectacle that it is, but look at it for tactics and techniques that are in there, underlining, then you will see skills. That is skill. How you roll with a punch is skill. How you slip a shot is skill. How you can see that coming is skill. To know what to do next, to pull back, is skill. That is skill. That is footwork. That is head movement. That is understanding your body mechanics. That is skill. And that takes years and years and years to understand and to do naturally, on instinct. So that's my thoughts on the fight. Floyd was, I could see at the end of the fight, he was a little annoyed. Annoyed with it. I think he wanted to put him out, but he had never fought somebody that big. Sparring somebody and fighting someone are two different things. And, you spar bigger gloves. That's another thing, because this fight wasn't going to get sanctioned in Las Vegas. Because the fact that this guy is so green, not to mention the size difference. Las Vegas said, we're not going to do this. Look at the size of this guy. Look at the size of you. We're not doing this. That's the reason why they had to go to Miami. Another factor is the size of the gloves. Floyd doesn't fight in 12-ounce gloves. He fights in 10-ounce gloves. The size of your gloves depends on the size of the guy. If you're a heavyweight, you fight in bigger gloves. If you're smaller, you fight in smaller gloves. Because of Logan Paul, Floyd had to fight in the bigger gloves. In which case, he's not going to have as much pop on his punches because he doesn't have a smaller glove. So there's extra cushion hitting Logan Paul's chin. If he had on some 10-ounce gloves, I'm pretty sure we would see the effects of the fight on Logan Paul's face right now. I'm not saying he'd be knocked out, but I am saying we would be able to see the effects of the fight on his face. That's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure there'd be a swollen lip, a swollen eye, a busted nose. That's what I'm saying. So when you take all these things into account, don't sit here and say, oh, Floyd couldn't get this guy out of here. Maybe he's better than what we thought he was. He's growing and he's young, and I give him all the props in the world because of his dedication to something new. He is retired. Floyd is retired. He's been retired for like 4 or 5 years. He's retired. He doesn't do this anymore. He did this simply, like he said, for the money and just to entertain. I just think he missed the limelight. In all, honesty, I just believe he's just one of those guys who misses the limelight. He misses the interviews. He misses the spotlights being on him. That's all. He misses being the center of attention. Not to mention, with everything opening back up, now we have live arenas. We have fans in the crowd and screaming and cheering, and he misses that. He's not you can say he's the face of boxing, but the reality is he's a retired boxer, so he's no longer the face of boxing. He will always be a part of boxing because of how great he's been, especially in the last 20 years. But he is no longer the quote-unquote face of boxing, and I just think he missed that. But that's enough of my rant on this fight. You tell me what you think down below, and as always, please like and subscribe.